If you live in the UK, you've probably wondered how much money people actually have saved, not what they claim, but the real numbers. Today, we're breaking down the average savings and total wealth by age group, using official data from the Office for National Statistics. These numbers might surprise you because what most people think is average isn't close to reality. Let's start with a quick truth. Savings aren't evenly distributed. A small percentage of people hold a large portion of the wealth, while many others have very little or even nothing at all. So when we talk about averages, remember that a few extremely rich households can skew the data upward. That's why it's often more useful to look at medians, the middle point where half of people have more and half have less. The ONS divides households into age groups, and according to their latest data, people in their early 20s usually have around £2,500 in total financial wealth. That includes savings, investments, and any cash sitting in accounts. It's not a lot, but it makes sense. Most people in this group are just starting their careers, maybe paying off student loans or trying to afford rent. The focus at this age is survival, not saving. By the time people reach their late 20s to mid-30s, average wealth grows significantly, reaching roughly £10,000, £15,000. This is the stage when salaries start to rise, and many individuals begin building emergency funds or contributing to pensions. It's the first real phase of financial progress, though expenses like weddings, mortgages, or children often slow things down. Things start to accelerate in the 40s and 50s. Here, average total wealth jumps to somewhere between £80,000 and £180,000, depending on the household type. This increase isn't just from saving. It's largely due to property ownership and pensions. Many people in this age range have equity in their homes and have been paying into pension schemes for decades. It's the point in life where wealth accumulation really takes off. But here's where it gets interesting. Once people hit their 60s, the average total wealth shoots up dramatically, often exceeding £300,000. That's partly because of defined benefit pensions from older employers and the growth in property values over time. However, while that figure sounds impressive, remember that much of this wealth isn't in liquid savings. It's tied up in homes or pensions that can't easily be accessed. If we isolate just cash savings, the picture looks very different. According to Money Helper and ONS data, the typical person in the UK, regardless of age, has less than £12,000 in easily accessible savings. That means most people couldn't handle a major financial emergency without dipping into debt. Nearly 1 in 3 adults have less than £1,000 saved, and many rely on credit cards for unexpected expenses. When comparing by generation, the gap becomes even clearer. Baby boomers who benefited from affordable housing and generous pension schemes hold the majority of the UK wealth. Millennials and Gen Z, meanwhile, are dealing with high living costs, unstable job markets, and soaring rent, making it much harder to save. The result is a widening financial gap between older and younger generations. But wealth isn't only about money sitting in a bank. The ONS includes property, pensions, investments, and valuables in its definition of total wealth. When all those are added, The median UK household holds roughly £300 to £500 in total wealth, meaning half of households have less than that, and half have more. However, the top 10% of households control nearly half of all private wealth in the country. That imbalance explains why many people feel poorer even when national averages seem high. So what does all of this mean for you? Understanding these figures helps set realistic financial goals. If you're in your 20s and have just a few thousand saved, you're not behind. That's actually normal. If you're in your 40s and working toward home ownership or building pension contributions, you're on track with the national trend. The key isn't comparing yourself to others, but focusing on consistent progress. Experts generally recommend building an emergency fund that covers at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses, then investing in long-term assets like pensions or index funds. Compound growth, not big paychecks, is what builds wealth over time. Even small, regular contributions can grow into substantial sums if started early. It's also worth remembering that financial health isn't only about savings. It's about security and flexibility, having enough to cover emergencies, make choices freely, and plan for the future matters more than hitting a specific number. And while comparing by age can be motivating, the best benchmark is your own improvement year after year. In short, the average UK adult has modest cash savings, but significant wealth tied up in property and pensions. The older you are, the more likely you've benefited from decades of asset growth. But for younger generations, the challenge is far greater. Understanding where you stand in this picture can help you make smarter, calmer financial decisions. So, the next time you see headlines about average savings, remember, those numbers tell only part of the story. What matters most isn't how you compare, but how steadily you're moving forward.